Hi, good morning, everyone. Uh, so today we are going to actually celebrate National Nutrition Week, right? Which is uh, celebrated in India from 1st of September to 7th of September, right? So I'm going to talk a lot about nutrition today, right? And let me share my screen. Yeah. So we all know that nutrition is uh, center holds a important place for our health, right? It is one of the most, vital pillars for, optimizing our health, right? But what exactly right now is happening, right? What I call is primitive nutrition, right? There are huge gaps, right? First thing is all the recommendations or interventions which has been given, have based on, a lot of population studies that treat all human beings as similar, considering the law of averages, right? It does not consider the unique biochemical individuality of every individual, right? Which is again linked to your microbiome, your genes expression, the interaction between various, oral gut, vaginal microbiome, skin microbiome, scalp microbiome, right? A lot of these things, right? Uh, Nutritionists and health coaches, right? Again, I'm not saying against them, but that's the most of these interventions are based on their experience, anecdotal evidence, and their belief system, right? So the thought process of all the food recommendations, or the basic mechanism is restricted to protein, carbs, fats, and fiber, right? And most of the recommendations are driven either by blood work or by CGM machines. So essentially, we are just focusing on just managing our symptoms, right? Uh, s- and then again, the most important part, right? It's a huge marketing expenditure on fat diets, on high protein diets, on keto diet, on having Mediterranean diet, a lot of these fat diets, right? Mostly most of the protein one is in high protein diet. If you want to lose weight, or if you are moving towards a diabetes stage, so probably a lot of people would say, okay, start having high protein diets. But I'll discuss this probably. There's a lot of amino acids which can lead to insulin resistance at a molecular level, right? So it's not always about protein, right? So again, few examples of uh, fat diets, right, and the what you call the primitive nutrition practices which are not solving for our health, right? So one of the most important thing is people say, okay, meat is bad, chicken is bad, non-veg is bad, right? Uh, have plant-based diet, right? It's fine. You should have a lot of plants and vegetables and everything, But the important point is a lot of toxins, antibiotics come from plants, right? And there are a lot of plant viruses which is found inside our gut, right? So what we have found over last 4 years, we have seen a lot of viruses such as blueberry viruses, tomato viruses, potato, sweet potato, pineapple, watermelon, yam, right? All these viruses are there in the gut, right? So, and we don't know that. So we'll think, okay, tomato is good, right? Because it's good, it gives you vitamin C, it's really good for immunity, right? Sweet potato is high in resistant starch, fiber, it is good to regulate our blood sugar level, right? Watermelon is a great food for nitrate. It's a great food in terms of antioxidants. It's a thing, especially in summers, right? But what if you have these viruses, right? So all these interventions based on some population studies or fat diets or belief system does not work in 90% of the cases, right? Similarly, red meat, we think red meat is bad, right? We should not eat red meat, it's high in saturated fat and, blah, 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 right? So, it will cause cardiovascular disease. There's a lot of these baseless assumptions, right? But again, red meat may be good because, the thing is red meat is high in choline, right? And if you have a certain microbe, certain proteobacteria, which can convert choline into TMA, trimethylene, right? And which passes through your liver and converts into TMAO, then it's bad because it can cause cardiovascular disease. If your microbiome is balanced and you don't have bacteria which can actually produce TMAO, then it's fine to have red meat, right? Especially spinach and broccoli. We think it's green vegetable. So we've seen a lot of recommendations by these fitness companies, have protein, have, less carb, have lot of, have any sort of green vegetable. What do you mean by any sort of green vegetables? So spinach is good, but spinach is good because spinach is high in, iron, vitamin D, vitamin B, a lot of things that spinach also has oxalates. So if your microbiome doesn't have that set of microbes which can neutralize oxalic acid, probably spinach is bad. It can lead to kidney stones, right? So you don't know that, and you may move towards kidney stones. So doctor will say you have consumed a lot of urea that's causing problem in kidneys, but it's not about urea always, right? So maybe oxalate doing bad things, right? Similarly, broccoli. So broccoli is very high in antioxidants, but broccoli is also high in glucosides. So if you have gut microbiome which can convert a lot of glucosides into sulfide, which can lead to production of hydrogen sulfide, right? If you have a lot of high activity of H2S production, probably broccoli is bad. It can trigger digestive issue. It can trigger inflammation, right? That's what we at Gene Frequentics we actually look at a lot of these biological pathways. We map these foods with biological pathways, which I will discuss in the next slide, right? Having high protein diet, right? That's what I've been sharing. So again, protein is good. We need protein for a lot of neurotransmitter production, for muscle building, for recovery of various tissues, cells. It's really great, but it all depends upon not what you eat, but how your these amino acids interact with the food you eat. For its tryptophan, right? So there's certain bacteria which can convert tryptophan into serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter which can improve your mental health. But there are certain bacteria if active inside your gut, it can convert tryptophan into endoxyl sulfate, which is one of the biomarkers for chronic kidney disease, right? Even it impacts your insulin sensitivity, right? So essentially, you really need to understand what specific amino acid, how it is being metabolized inside the body, right? It's not always high protein diet. So we can probably tell you what is your endoxyl sulfate production, where it is what is your serotonin production, right? So we really need to understand the biochemical footprint inside our body, right? Somebody tyrosine, right? Tyrosine again plays a key role in a lot of neurotransmitter production, like it plays a key role in regulating of fight and flight response, dopamine, right? Again, that these all are regulate our brain health, right? But tyrosine, if there's certain microbe is active, tyrosine 9 can be converted to precursor. This is one of the biomarkers we call chronic kidney disease, right? So again, as I mentioned, we need to see how our microbiome metabolize the foods we eat, or what is the interaction, how these amino acids are interacting with our gut microbiome, right? Again, there's a lot of these news about NMN for longevity. I've done 2 videos on that. You can check out my YouTube video. But just to sum up, right? NMN, is a great source of great food molecule for longevity and aging. But it's not always you should have NMN to actually improve your mitochondrial biogenesis or improve your longevity, right? So if you have a lot of inflammation going on, if you have a lot of cellular senescence, are high, actually increases mitochondrial biogenesis, right? So essentially, it can lead to release of free radicals. If you have a lot of inflammation, a lot of free radicals have not been cleaned up, so it will lead to cytokine storm and a lot of accumulation of free radicals, which can further trigger inflammation, right? And certain research which have found that if someone is actually progressing towards cancer, it can have a pro-cancer function, right? So again, it all depends upon what specific molecule your body needs for longevity, for better energy production, overcoming fatigue and a lot of these things, right? So there are other molecules also, like your folic acid can give you, can improve your mitochondrial biogenesis. Nicotine, again, nicotine, I'm not about smoking, right? I'm not about cigarettes, but I'm not talking about the cigarette or smoking, but nicotine is found in various foods such as tomato, potato, pepper, cauliflower, right? Polyphenols, right? What specific polyphenols? What L-carnitine, sometimes we need L-carnitine ammonia to actually trigger the mitochondrial biogenesis. Lycopene, again, found in tomato, CoQ10, catechin, found in green tea. So again, it all depends upon your unique biochemical footprint, what specific molecule your biology needs, you know. It is not always NMN or not always, polyphenol or not always nicotine, right? So do not fall for these supplements. These are all baseless claims, right? So again, this is all what we call as primitive nutrition. Right? Now coming on to, uh, conflicting scientific publications are talking about. Some there are a lot of publications which are really contradictory. So one would say, consumption of fruit juice causes cancer. One would say consumption of fruit juice is healthy. One would say, okay, dairy causes, a lot of cancer, chronic disease. Well, some would say, dairy is not bad, right? Similarly for red meat, because red meat do provide vitamin B12 and dietary protein, but it is also, as I discussed, that a lot of research that it is linked to cardiovascular disease. So there is, a lot of uh, contradictory claims by different research papers, right? And again, genetic, right? So I've seen that a couple of companies are promoting, okay, you need to improve your vitamin B12. uh, you know you know you may have bad genes, or it's all linked to genes, so your genes have a very minor role to play, and in your nutrition, and it's microbiome which determines the impact of nutrition on your health. So if you see, this is, I've shared screenshot of a research paper which came that, on twin study. So there was 1,002 twins. This study happened 1,002 twins, and twins have had different glycemic response to same foods, right? So for one twin, the a particular food raised the insulin level, while for other it didn't, right? Or raised it scarcely, right? So essentially, there's nothing called, so your genes, do not blame your ancestors for this. Your genes do not have a role to play in determining your nutrition interventions or your chronic diseases. Uh, Again, so this is how we work, right? So we generally, we know that, our body is lack of, tens of thousands of, biochemical activities, right? We generally take your biological sample. We do not focus on genes. We do not focus on the existence of a particular microorganism. We focus on the function of microbiome, function of the microbiome. We focus on the genes expression, right? So we take your biological sample, right? We collect the molecular data from your biological sample using RNA sequencing, and the samples are usually collected at home, so you can easily, take your sample at home. We can get it picked, right? And again, from sequencing, we collect a lot of molecular data, right? And also we also take your self-reported phenotype form, right, to actually gauge certain sort of, food sensitivities or allergies or medications and a lot of these stuff, right? And then it goes through a mathematical model, which is again a machine learning driven mathematical model, right? Built from the used technical knowledge we have, right, in house, the existing scientific literature and the molecular data that we have built till now, right? These all are built, so we lay our mathematical model over the molecular data we have collected, which measures the biology and chemistry, right? And this is actually converted into various biological pathways, which I'll be sharing in the next slide, right? And these biological pathways drive our nutrition intervention. So in simple words, right, we map these biological pathways with various food molecules, food substrates, to determine what food is good or bad for you, and categorize into superfood, moderate, enjoy, and avoid, right? So our entire this thing is entirely data driven, right? So collecting your molecular data, your phenotype data, you know, uh, sequencing. So this data is then connected from a biological sample, right? From the time your sample is collected to it is sequenced to bioinformatics, and going through the algorithm, we convert that into your molecular data. This molecular data is again combined with with a mathematical formula to determine biological pathways, and then that determine your nutrition intervention. So it's entirely objective, data driven, backed by science. There's no human involved, right, from the time the biological sample enters the lab, going through the entire medicine data mining process, right, until the recommendations come. So again, all the decisions have been already built on the back end using the existing scientific literature, right? And it is actually fed to our mathematical model, right? So again, every sample or your sample contribute to further improvement in our, algorithm, in our machine learning models, which bring more accuracy, more precision for the current and the future customers as well, right? So coming on to our, therapeutic platforms. So a lot of people been following me that we have a unique human microbiome therapeutic platform, which is again a blend of system biology, which is what we call as RNA, microbial sequencing, gene expression sequencing, and artificial intelligence, right? So we generally capture all the food molecule, food substrate from more than 400 plus foods, right? Uh, we have built recently, we launched this Prediglin, which is our insulin response prediction model, right? So this consists of 17 biological pathways. We map these food molecules with various biological pathways to determine what food should come in superfood, what should be enjoyed, what food should come in moderate risk, what should come in minimized, what should be avoided, right? And again, we also through your sequencing, whether going for a gut microbiome, oral microbiome, or within the microbiome, right? We convert the entire sample into molecular data. This molecular data is converted into whole body molecular pathways, right? So I've given some examples like we tell you what is a bitrate production, what is the oxidate metabolism, what is ammonia production, histamine production, methane production, tryptophan, and a lot of these. So we have 36 such pathways, right? So these both, 17 plus these 36 pathways, this actually gets into deeply runs through our machine learning mathematical model, machine learning algorithm, and then we bifurcate foods into superfoods, enjoy, moderate, minimize, avoid. Right? For instance, if someone has a low oxide metabolism, as I shared, spinach, which is high in oxide, has to be avoided. Similarly, if someone has a high H2S, to avoid eggs because eggs is high in sulfur, right? Similarly, if someone has a high oxalate metabolism, so spinach would come in superfood, assuming other things are normal. So there's no other, if there's no so-called virus which is eating up spinach, or in case of stress production, if it's a medium stress production, we may moderate the consumption of eggs, right? So that's how we look at nutrition, what we call as nutrition infinity, right? It's entirely data driven. There's no human involvement. It's based on your molecular data we collect from your biological sample, right? It actually runs through the scientifically validated and backed by 30,000 plus scientific research papers and 200 plus uh, data from 200 plus customers, right? Molecular data from 200 plus customers, right? This mathematical model actually converts all this molecular data into biological pathway, and these biological pathway form basis for various food recommendations, right? So entirely scientific, data-driven, objective. There's no human involvement. There's no assumptions. There's no guesswork. There's no belief systems. It is not based on population studies. There is no fat diets, right? So on this National Nutrition Week, uh, take back control of your health in your own hands. Learn what specific food your body needs right now, right? Do not fall for fad diets. Do not fall for any recommendation based on blood work, gains, or some fad diets, some population studies, some genetic tests, genes testing. That's it for today. Have a great day ahead. Thanks a lot.